Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with book marketing mentor Judy Baker. She helps business authors get more bang for their book, turning content into cash long after a book launch. After conquering cancer in 2014, she became an author, advocate, and self-publishing evangelist. Her memoir, Guidebook, will be published in 2022. We get into all of this and so much more. Enjoy this interview.
Well, hey, thank you for taking a minute out to talk with me today. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So before we hop into your life, I want to know, how did you survive COVID? The last 2 years was quite tumultuous with lockdowns and everything that we went through. How did you survive it, and how did it subsequently change the way that not only you live your life, but the way you approach business?
Well, I'll tell you what was the weirdest thing for me. When my gym had to close down, I freaked out. I went, wait a minute, that's my happy place, and it was really difficult to have to go back to exercising by myself, and because that's a big part of my routine. I already was doing video calls with clients, so that didn't screw me up too much, but it was just having to, be alone even more. I am an introvert, but being alone even more was really hard. So that was very disruptive. With my business, part of what changed, everything had to be proactive. I couldn't just wait for things to show up, and not that I was doing that completely before, but in the past, the way that I would tend to attract more people was by, doing a workshop or doing a presentation, and suddenly that was all switched around. So it was challenging. But I spent some time, I think the first year, I spent a lot of time doing some creative writing about healing from an illness that I had several years ago. And that was very good. So I think that was the biggest change for me.
So let's get a handle on what you do for a living. And I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day. One of them looks up at you and says, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I tell them that I help authors who have books that aren't selling to turn those books into ways for them to connect with more people and to bring them more income into their lives.
What did you want to be when you grew up in the third grade?
Wanted to be an actress.
So are you happy with how everything turned out?
Well, I used a lot of the skills I learned in theater to help me. Well, let me put it this way. Authentic selling is not performing. However, knowing how to use my voice and use my body have been helpful in my integration with being able to speak. And yes, and what am I doing right now but stuttering? But it helps to understand some of the things that help people connect with you.
I get it. Absolutely. So let's go back. A lot of this all comes from childhood. Talk to me about your childhood, kind of where you were born and raised, and how some of these seeds came in you to, lean more towards, books and kind of, like you said, speaking. How did all that happen for you?
Well, I have three older sisters, and all of us worked at a library when we were in college. It's really, really funny. And one of my sisters married, her husband was a librarian. He was a teacher and a librarian. My father always had probably 3 books and then 3 different types of magazines that he was reading all the time. And it was my mother was the only one that didn't read, but because she was doing everything else. And so after everybody was gone, then she was as voracious a reader as the rest of us. So books were really important. And when I was 16, it was my last year in high school, and I skipped 2 grades. So, I said, I'm really ready to get out of here. I took a class so that I could print the book of poetry that I had written and illustrated. And I had the best time doing that because it was completely different than anything I'd ever done. And I was also in a class. I was the only girl because this was not a class that girls could take. That's how old I am. And my father had to come down to the school and tell them that, yes, I was going to take this class. And it was before Title VII. So there was no legal support for this. And so I took this class, and I just couldn't believe how wonderful it was to see, to go from writing it, illustrating it, putting it on a press, and, making this book come true. And in fact, I've got a copy of it sitting next to me right now. And I thought that I was going to not only be an actress, but that I was also going to be a writer. But I mistakenly took a class from a professor who had a very limited view of what being a writer meant, and he didn't like my writing because I didn't write like Dean Koontz, who subsequently I have met, and he's a very nice man, and I like his writing, but I don't write like that. And so I stopped writing for about 30 years, except for business stuff, and only reconnected with doing creative writing, both creative fiction and creative nonfiction, about 15 years ago, and I love it. So I thought I was going to be a famous actress, and I didn't need to know anything about business, and then I found out that was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, and wound up working for myself, and so I'm always auditioning anyway.
Excellent. So talk to me a little bit about who maybe a hero or role model has been for you.
Well, I've got some people in my life that I admire now, but I wouldn't say they were role models. You mean currently that they're role models?
Anytime. It could be in the past.
Yeah. Well, some of the people I've come to admire who've been real trailblazers, I was very surprised. I only recently read Maya Angelou's autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And I had no idea that she had so much abuse in her life. And yet she was able to embody this power and beauty despite all of that. And she was, when she was growing up, she was told she was ugly. She was told, all kinds of terrible things. And she really was able to create vivid pictures with her words that I thought made such a huge difference and helped women, helped Black women see themselves in a different way. And so I think I really admire her. And some of the more contemporary people who've made a huge difference in the world, Gina Davis with her initiative to show that women were underrepresented in children's programming and that more women needed to be in the mix of, what's being written, what's being produced, how it's being done. So she's made a huge difference. And oh gosh, there's so many people just in my community that have changed things. We have a theater company that was created by people who had been on Broadway, and they have a mission to educate children and help them become not only performers, but they learn how to work with each other and cooperate. And so they've got the Transcendence Theater Company, where they bring in Broadway performers to the Jack London State Park, and they also raised money. They've contributed, I think it's more than $500,000 to keep the park alive and in good shape. But they have a children's program so that's where that money goes from the performances, where they're doing all this really fun stuff, and I love musical theater, and then they are educating kids. So I think that's pretty amazing. So yeah, I really favor people who do things rather than just talk about things.
So let me ask you this: what was the book for you? What was the book for you growing up that made the most impact? That really opened the curtains up for you?
It was Alice in Wonderland. I mean, and now I know so much more about what was really going on in that book, but I read that book, I think, probably 5 times as a kid. It was, every time I would open a book, it would take me somewhere else. And I loved that. I loved that I could go on these journeys and meet people and, something that was so different to me. So I really did love that book.
So if you could meet anybody on the planet right now and talk to them, who would it be? Who would you love to meet?
Ooh, that's a good one. I actually would like to meet, there's 4 people I'd like to meet. I'd like to meet the Obamas, and I'd like to meet the Bidens, because I think they're very, very different. And
absolutely.
Yeah, they're very different. I love the sense of humor and the playfulness in the Obamas. And go ahead.
That's one of the reasons why I kind of came up with this question. He's one of those people that I would love to meet. I get it, for sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. This is one of those things where it's really about the wisdom you've gained in your life. If you have a dream tonight, run into your version that's, say 20 years old, and you could give that young version a piece of advice based on the wisdom that you've gained through your life, what advice would you give?
To be more courageous. That I think there have been so many times, if I could go back and not do some of the things that I did, that I'd be more courageous, and it's okay to try things without knowing if it's going to work, and stick with it. I sabotaged myself a number of times, either in how I was behaving or what I believed, and so I didn't trust myself enough. And I think that there were so many different times people offered me opportunities, and I didn't value them. I did something where I would just set myself up to fail. And I don't think I would do that again. I'd say pay attention and be generous and kind, and get my ego out of the equation. Ego doesn't help you get anything.
For sure. What's been one of the best client letters you've gotten, best client responses from the work that you've done?
Well, I have one client that I've worked with for 30 years, and we're continuing to work. And every time I say, I think maybe, we should stop working together, she says, I can't imagine that. You can't do that. Because sometimes I think when you get really used to somebody, you don't always pay as much attention, just like in any relationship. But I'm constantly challenging her, and she challenges me. So the fact that she has continued to work with me, that we, I help her see things in a different way. Oh, goodness, I sound like I've got a frog here. Hold on a sec. She's gained confidence in areas even outside of the marketing work that we've done together, and she's recognizing that maybe sometimes I nudge her and challenge her, and she's stepping into being more confident in places where she never had been before.
Wonderful. So everyone out there has a perception of you, an idea of who they think you are. Your family, your friends, your clients, but ultimately you're in control of your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a groundbreaker, and I also am an introvert. And I'm recognizing the value of needing time to process information. And I also see myself as, well, I am a leader, but I lead by letting other people take center stage. So I'm there to support them to do their best. I'm not there to tell them what to do or how to do it. I'm there to encourage them and to really give them the space to be their best. And it's pretty amazing. It's a different style. It's a different style of leadership than I used to think was important. But I'm starting to recognize that when I help people feel the value of what they are bringing to the table, and that it's okay if they're different than I am, I can listen and get them, give them the encouragement they need, as well as feedback if sometimes what they're doing isn't going in the direction I think that they've intended. So it's an interesting situation, but I'm enjoying seeing people take initiative that I might not have expected, and to blossom. And sometimes they're going to fail, but that's okay. I really encourage people to, if you're going to fail fast and then move on and make adjustments. So I'm kind of an experimenter, and I want to help other people recognize it's okay. You don't have to be perfect the first time you do anything. And because I work with writers, oh my gosh, everything you do, you write and then you rewrite it and then you rewrite it, and you get other people's opinions about that, and you have to learn to be open to making something better when you work with other people. So I'm all about collaboration.
So Judy, if anybody out there wants to know more about you, your services, anything revolving around your world, where's the best place for them to go?
The best place is to check me out at bookmarketingmentor.com. That's my website right now, and I've got a lot of information for authors who are looking to improve the way that they connect with their audience. And I have a gift for you too. When you go to that website, if you then use the / and go to freebie, you'll find several resources, including 7 ways you can monetize your book while you sleep.
Wonderful. Judy, thank you for taking time out, opening up. Have a great holiday and a great 2023. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. You take care.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino. We cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, and music from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube or Spotify. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.